now. Emily is a really varied artist. She does charcoal and pastels and India ink and a mix of, she said, red dirt, even from the Berkeley Hills. She uses a lot of large canvases. I love her abstract work. She's shown some in the Frank Beck Gallery and she's taught classes with us. And if you take her classes, they're really a lot of fun. So without further ado, Emily, would you like me to spotlight you to start?
Sure, sure.
Okay, I will do that. So it's you and your workspace are on Spotlight right now.
All right. Sorry, and can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So sorry for the sideways deal. I can't quite figure out the phone thing. So let's see, get me in there. So I am starting with this photograph that, let me hold it up here, that you may or may not have access to. It's a photograph I took some months ago, and I'm supposed to hold this up. So here's me. Is it backwards?
No, perfect.
Okay, my computer is, it's showing everything backwards on my computer. So
no, it's perfect for us.
All right, good. Let's see.
Emily Weil. Hold it closer. There we go. Art. EmilyWeilArt.com, correct?
Emily Weil
hyphen
art.com. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's put that away. Okay, so I'm going to work off that this guy here. What I've done on my paper here is just done some pencil outlines, and I'm going to use my handy dandy little sailor pen, which I love, with this kind of ink. It's called document ink, d'Artementis, which I get online. I'm sure you can't see the label there. And I use it in this pen. So I'm going to draw away based on this photograph. And then before I do that, I'm going to use my little spray bottle. Can you guys still see me? I see Roz on my screen now.
I spotlighted your video.
Okay. Well, I'm going to spray my palette.
I'm going to go back to spotlighting you for a second and your workspace. Let me know if you want, when you want to go to your workspace totally, and we'll switch to that.
Oh, sure. Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. So the first question we had was whether your, I think it was your pen or your ink is waterproof.
Yes. My sailor pen, you can get them online. They're from Japan. It takes a while to get them.
And how do you spell that, Emily? Excuse me.
Sailor, like Navy sailor.
Like Navy sailor, S-A-I-L-O-R.
Sailor in the Navy.
Okay.
My fountain pen. And it has, can you guys see my workspace okay?
Uh-huh.
So I'm unscrewing.
Waterproof, Emily?
Yes. So I use this waterproof ink, which you may or not be able to see.
Turn it one rotation to the left. One rotation of your hand to the left toward 3 o'clock, toward 9 o'clock.
Try this. Okay, it's called d'Artementis. I get it online. It's called Document Ink Black, and it's waterproof. And when you do a pen like this, you don't want to put just any waterproof ink in your fountain pen because it'll clog it. So if you want to email me, I can give you more information on the name of the ink and where to get it. You have to put a little converter here instead of a cartridge because you can't get cartridges with this ink in it. Okay, so that's my little pen demo. So that's what I use. And I like to start there, so I'm just going to start drawing.
Is that better, everyone? Can you see her workspace?
Can you highlight it, Roz? Because,
No.
oh, we can't.
So you
Can't see
cannot
it?
see your workspace?
No.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is switch back to gallery view for a second, and I'm going to pin you again.
I'll pause for a sec.
Okay, now can you see it?
Yes.
I
Better,
see it
thank
on
you.
my screen. It's gonna
Great,
be
thank you.
it's gonna be sideways art. Sorry about that, guys. So any of you guys who know me know I do stuff pretty loosely.
So you're just doing a little contour drawing?
Yep. Now, one thing I'm going to do now, Roz, and everybody, is just be quiet for a minute so I can concentrate. I'll answer questions in a sec.
Okay.
Outlining that leaf right here. I'm holding the pen fairly loosely so that I don't like try too hard. I don't want to clench up. So I'm going to let this dry for a couple minutes. It will be waterproof, but it needs to sit for a couple minutes. Let's see.
So after it dries, Emily, do you hold your workspace vertical or do you hold it flat on the table to put on the watercolor?
It's flat. This is my kitchen counter. So it's flat on the counter. And let me just show you, because this needs a couple minutes to set. I've also started another one, which I'm not going to start painting in. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll just do that. Okay, so I'm going to do these poppies, because the ink needs to dry on this. So what I did, anticipating that I would do 2 different paintings, because stuff has to dry. That's the thing about watercolor and ink. So I'm going to do this. Don't think I can do both at the same time, show you on my screen. So this is, can you see that? Let's see.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what I did with this one, with the poppies, is I went outside along the walkway and got my favorite little stick and ink. So what I did with this, because I wanted this to dry, I used a different kind of ink. This is acrylic ink, so I dipped it in here and then drew this stuff. So what I'm going to do while this is setting, switching over to the poppies, And what I'm going to do is got
Oh,
nice
acrylic
clean
ink?
water.
Emily, acrylic ink is like acrylic paint?
Yeah, it comes in a bottle just like this. And this is Daler and Rowney FW acrylic ink. It's the same consistency as ink, but it's it dries faster.
Okay.
And switching, I'm going to get the whole sheet wet. You notice the ink is not running. Also going to turn on some different lights. Let me see this. A little bit more light.
Yep.
What I like to do and what I've been doing lately, which is really fun, is wetting the whole sheet. And because we're working with a lot of white areas here, I'm going to leave a lot of the paper shining through. So I'm not going to cover that up. So everything is wet. Use a big fat brush to wet the whole thing. I have a favorite brush, and one thing that I like to tell people is to stick with one size brush when you're painting, because it tends to unify the painting. Okay, now let me see. So I'm going to dip into some CAD yellows.
So that's the 14 synthetic.
This is the Raphael, yes, size 14 synthetic, and it just has this great, it holds a whole lot of paint for one thing, and I like the way it feels. You can see how that's all running around and stuff, which is totally fine with me. This is my palette. I actually cleaned it up, believe it or not. It's a porcelain tray. And I love this thing. It's really fun to use. So.
And noticed you said in your sheet that you use hot press.
Yes.
Can you tell us why, as opposed to cold press?
Here's the Stonehenge
There we can
hot
see.
press, aqua hot press. And the reason is because it's really smooth for pen and ink. So I like Arches paper as well, 140 pound I use in my studio. And that goes up on the wall in a big, large sheet. And it has a nice texture to it. And that's the cold press, because I generally don't do as much pen and ink when I'm doing a larger painting.
Is this 140 as well?
I don't know. Let's see. I can't tell. All right, so I'm going to mix up some. Let's see. This is going to be really, really wet. You guys who know me know that one of the reasons I love watercolor is you just never certain exactly what it's going to do. So spatters are really popular these days.
Yep, I do it a lot. It's a great substitute for knowing what you're doing.
Exactly. All right.
So Liz Bay is telling us that Diatramontis ink Goulet pens, Pilot Metropolitan is a good starter fountain pen also. And you can purchase a converter.
Yes, that's what I have.
What is a converter?
Converter replaces the cartridge. So this is the converter right here, and it sticks in the pen right here, just like
Uh-huh.
a cartridge would. And then this is a screw thing. You stick it in the ink, screw it down, and then screw it the other way, and then it pulls the ink back into this little area here.
Oh, neat.
Okay, so I have my little heater on, and this is going to go next to the heater, and then I'll go back to the other painting. Oh, that looks kind of cool. All right. Now, going back to this guy. One of the reasons I really liked this photo was those colors are just incredible. So I'm going to play with all of my pinks and reds. And again, I'm going to go with, well, let me think about this. I don't think I will wet the whole thing. I think we'll just wet where the flowers are for starters. What I want is a nice, yummy, corally, sort of orangey color.
We have a few more people that just joined us. If you want to very quickly recap the paper and technique you're using, Emily.
Okay, so I'm using a Stonehenge Aqua Press pad. This is like a pad of watercolor paper. And I've just wet areas here where the flowers are in this photograph. And I've got my Raphael, I'm not sure how to say it, size 14 brush, which you can tell because everything is worn off here, how popular it is with me. I really love it. So I'm just working on some wet areas here. And I'm going to go back up in here, I think. Any other questions, Ross, you want to ask me while I'm...
No, I think we're good so far. No more questions. If you have a question, please use the chat function. Send it to everyone or to me as the host, Roz Harper, and I will make sure Emily can answer it for you so we don't distract her by unmuting in the middle of her talk.
This is really good practice for me because I don't like being watched. So I'm starting to relax a little, and that's really good. It's a good exercise for me. Now this leaf here is this wonderful pinky color. There's some yellow in it. You can tell how loose I like to work.
Do you mainly use transparent colors? I noticed the cadmium, of course, isn't, but
I like to do, I go with a basic triad of Daniel Smith. And the reason I like that triad is because it's really hard to make mud with those three colors. And the three colors are phthalo blue green shade, Hansa yellow light, and a quinacridone magenta. And I like those because it's hard to make a whole lot of mud with them. And I have also found if I limit my palette, and I am doing cad yellows and cad reds today as well. If I limit the palette, it also tends to unify the painting. That might do some fun stuff there when it dries. Let's see. This is super dark here. I do use a cobalt teal sometimes, and you can do some really gorgeous greens playing around with cobalt teal. I think that's really fun. This area here is like super dark in the photo, so I'm going to leave that for later. I have a little bit of quinacridone coral. It's just a gorgeous color. Well, there's a lot of light area here, but these long leaves are very sort of a wonderful purpley color. So I did sneak in and use some of my violet paint.
So it looks like the hot press, the color stays on the paper. It's less absorbent. Is that accurate?
It does tend to sit on top a little bit more, yes. So that means that the paint is going to do different things on it. These leaves are just so amazing with the green veins. They're kind of a dark purple. It's really one of the things that's challenging, I think, for any artist is to leave white areas. Not make it too dark and too filled in. Now I really love those veins. Let me see. Here's another little trick. You can take a pencil and work into wet paint to make some lines. And then when it dries, there'll be some lines there. Okay, I am going to let this dry and go get the other one, which I hope is dry. We'll switch back and forth. Oh, It's really helpful if you're going to use a heater to make sure it's plugged in. I'm going to go use the hair blower. I'll be right back.
Uh, So Emily's going to be teaching a class on this kind of technique in the near future. The best way to find out about it is to check on the Frank Bet website. We offer all kinds of different classes through Zoom, and hopefully this summer or later in the year, we'll be able to do them live again. That's optimistic, I know, but we're hopeful. So if you have any questions again, please send them through chat. As I said earlier, I'm not sure all of you heard it because not everyone was here, but we will be auctioning this one of these paintings. I'm not sure which one. At the end of the session, we'll be taking a bio break about, in about, I don't know, we'll see, maybe in about 20, 25 minutes, depending on what Emily's working on. And then when we come back, we will be setting up an auction for the painting. And
If I like the painting, you can auction.
we'll
I
do
might not like it.
we'll do that through the chat function as well.
Now, one of the challenges I have is because I like loose, wet paint. It takes longer to dry. There's just no way around it. So one great thing back in pre-COVID days when we used to be able to get on airplanes, and I would go visit my daughter in San Diego, and that was like perfect. You put it out in the sun and it's dry in 30 seconds. So I'm going to go back to these poppies. I'm kind of liking what's happening so far. I like these lines. You know, when you use a big stick, you can't control it as much, and I like that.
So when you go plein air painting, you usually take, you know, a stick in your ink and you'll, you know.
Sometimes. Sometimes though, I love going around Alameda Point because there's so many interesting old rusty ships and old falling down buildings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I will sit and work, and sometimes I'll take photos so I can go home and nobody will bother me when I'm painting. I can't remember who the artist was that I heard about many years ago who used to go out and do plein air stuff. And he hated being bothered, so he would sit inside a cardboard box with an opening in it. I'm really tempted to do that. So I'm just going to add some shadowy areas to these petals, working from this guy. I like to use French ultramarine for that because I love how it granulates. It sort of dries with a kind of a texture to it, and I really like that.
So Margaret was mentioning that one of the plein air artists found an old phone booth on the point to paint from. That was
That's right. And there's an old phone booth right outside my house in the marina here. A non-functioning phone booth. Used to have a surfboard inside it, but somebody took it.
Do you ever use gouache for your paintings?
I don't, but I will show you what I do use. I like these guys. I have a whole bag full of these acrylic pens, Montana brand and Posca brand. And I will add highlights and things sometimes at the end of it, you know, later in a painting. Here, I'll show you. Let me let this sit for just 1 second. I did this painting, which is on my website, and it's ink and watercolor, and then little bits of pops of color, if you can see it, with the acrylic pens.
Oh yes, the hot pink.
There's hot pink, there's some blue, a little bit of green. So that's something I like to do. If a painting isn't 100% working and it needs a little more light areas, you can sort of cheat with the acrylic pens. I have a whole bag full. Boy, these shadows are kind of a pain, aren't they? Okay, on this guy, I'm going to work in some darker areas. So I'm mixing the phthalo blue and the quinacridone magenta for some darks.
That's a beautiful combination, the phthalo blue and the quin magenta.
Yeah, it makes for a really nice dark.
Yes.
I want to outline the white.
Do you ever, after you finish painting a painting, just sort of walk away and come back a couple days later and play with it, or do you try to not do that?
That's a really good question. I do that a lot in my abstract work. And one day I'll walk away from it and think, oh, that's pretty good. And then I'll walk into the next day and go, God, that just sucks. So whether I like something or not can change every 5 minutes. With watercolors, though, I tend not to go back and fuss too much. I really do like the quality of keeping it kind of loose and spontaneous. And if I go back in and do a whole lot, then it loses that quality, in my opinion.
Well, it also looks like you don't do a lot of blending on the paper, which, could interfere with the luminosity if you go back over it, I guess.
Yeah.
So there are 1 or 2 people that have joined us, and you can go to the chat function and see the colors that at the top of the chat function, you can see the colors that Emily uses, the kind of brushes, and she's using a hot press Stonehenge aqua pad. And started it with waterproof ink and now is using watercolor over it.
I like spattering, like I said before, but you have to be careful with the red spatters because it looks like somebody just died. So you have to watch that. And I'll tell you guys a story while I'm noodling around here. Years ago, I was part of a large group of artists that were chosen to create artworks for Kaiser San Leandro. And I hope you're only there visiting, but if you go up on the 2nd floor, I've got some paintings up there.
Yeah, neat.
And the group that selected me, who curated the group of artists and gave us direction, they said, I did one, they were like big, like, I think they're like 30 inches by 40, which is watercolor and paper. That's pretty big. And some of you guys may have heard this story before, but I did one big one. They wanted florals. So I did great big floral scenes from photographs I took in Berkeley. And, my style's kind of drippy and splatty and stuff. So I did one large painting for them to come look at, this art gallery that was selecting the work, and they looked at it and they said, nope, too many red drips. This is going to go right outside a surgery center. Looks like blood, can't have it. So,
oh my goodness.
So I did another one. Actually, there's 3 of them there. So that's the challenge of red spatters. Can you guys hear the finches right outside my window?
No, can't hear him.
So I like these large white areas in this. I'll let this dry in a second. Go back to the other one.
It's about 4:55. So before you start the other one, it might be a good time for a 10-minute break.
Sure, and
And-
I'm happy to answer questions too if anybody wants.
Yeah, if you have a question during the break, feel free to unmute yourself.
Do you want me to stop and break or no?
No, only if you want to. Usually we do for about 10 minutes, sometime during the 2 hours.
I probably should just keep working.
Okay.
But I'm happy if anybody else needs a break.
No, we can keep going. That's fine. Chris is telling me she can hear the finches.
Can you tell whether the recording's free?
And the orange coral sort of color at the top right, what color was that? Do you remember?
Here,
Yeah.
that's cad red.
Well, the top right, orange coral color. Was that it, Suzanne?
Tell me when I'm, because everything is screwy on my screen compared to my workspace. Do you mean up here?
Upper left. Yeah. Right around upper left in there. Yeah.
There's about 3 different layers of color. There's some cad yellow. These spots are cadmium red.
And what were the colors that you mentioned you use that don't get muddy?
Oh, the triad. Daniel Smith watercolors, Hansa Yellow Light, quinacridone magenta, and phthalo blue green shade. And the phthalo you can't really lift, so you sort of have to be committed when you use it.
So for all of you, all the colors that Emily uses is at the very top of the chat messages. It also shows you her triad and some of the other colors she generally uses, and also the brushes and paper.
They only appear there if you came early enough. If you arrive after they were placed there, they cannot be seen.
I have a slide bar on mine that you can, on the right-hand side, so that you can slide up to see the beginning.
Yeah, can you scroll to the top?
I can scroll to the top, but anything that was put in the chat before I was admitted into the session
Oh, it's not
would
visible.
not appear.
Oh, that's a drag. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll just repeat it.
Okay, I'm gonna put this under the heater that's now plugged in and get the other one.
That looks great.
Thanks.
So I just added all of the colors that
Okay, back to this guy, which is this guy. See, now this one has a whole different feel to it. It's like tighter. The sticks and ink on the one I just put under the heater is much looser, and I like it better. That sounds like a pretty cute dog.
Unfortunately, that's not a finch. Yes, that's my Barky Sheltie. I'll mute for a second.
It's all right. It doesn't bother me.
It would after a while, believe me.
Okay, I'm cheating and going into some violet colors here.
What is the violet color that you use? Is that a Daniel Smith violet or
I'd have to look it up. I think it's a cobalt violet,
cobalt violet?
but I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's just, you know, hey, it's on my palette. I think I'll use it. It's from a previous painting. I'm really doing well and not swearing too much. I like how this brush kind of flexes. There's something about the way it does that that I like. I like this brand. Let's see.
Did you start out, Emily, with watercolor or acrylics or pen and ink? And I guess what I'm asking, how you decided to paint with pen and ink?
You mean,
You know, with watercolor and ink.
how did I get to the pen and ink part, do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, did you start out with watercolors and then find it more
Yes.
effective to
Correct.
add the-
I started out with watercolors. Somebody asked me once, how long does it take you to do a painting? And to steal a quote from another artist, it takes about 3 hours and 45 years. And I'm just looking at my screen I'm not sure what you're seeing, but these colors are bright, vibrant than on my screen, just FYI.
They look pretty vibrant. We can see them. That's a pretty green. What is that?
That's a little phthalo and a little cad yellow. I'm sneaking into the violet again.
So we have a question. Which one? I think I know the answer. Which one is being auctioned? The poppies or the one you're doing now?
I'll tell you when they're done.
I thought you were going to say the one I like.
Okay, I'm starting to relax a little.
I didn't even realize these are begonias.
Are they? I think they are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they
I
are.
mean, this part isn't, but
Yeah, I think the leaves give it away, I think, but they're beautiful.
Okay, I'm gonna put this aside to dry, and then let's go back to the other one. Oh, let's see, what was I thinking on that?
So for those who just joined us, Emily's working on 2 different pieces and is letting them dry in between. She's using a hot press 140-pound paper, and we think, and has used waterproof ink first to make the outline. And now she's then filling it in with the various colors and letting it dry in between. So switching back from poppies to begonias and back.
I have to clean my water.
So one of these is going to be auctioned, whichever one she likes best. And at the end of the evening, the current bid is 150, and that would be a donation to Frank Bed, as this session is offered for free. All of our prior demonstrations are added, recorded, and edited, and then placed on our website for all of our Frank Bet visitors to see. We've had some really good demos. You know, it seems like, Emily, the colors seem a little darker when they dry. Normally, I would expect them to get lighter,
Um,
but maybe it's because they're blending or
you know, that's a good point. They, on my screen anyway, they're a whole lot darker than in person. I would think, yeah, that they would get lighter.
yeah, they're making the poppies pop a little more.
I think this one might just about be done. Oh, I know why I changed the water. I remember now. Let's see. I want to scrub up just a little bit of that color.
Do you ever use magic eraser or something like that to try and get it up?
No, I haven't. I don't. You mean like a pencil eraser?
No, a magic eraser is it's actually used to clean things, but it's great for wetting and like taking layers off your watercolors by just lightly blotting with it.
You'll have to tell me more about that. I don't know
Yeah,
about
it's
that.
lifting. It's called Mr. Clean. Chris tells me it's Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
I'll be damned. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
It's used for all kinds of cleaning stuff, you know, get junk off of bathtubs and stuff, but it's also good for
Oh,
lifting
do
water.
you mean like the Mr. Clean stuff?
Yeah, only it's called a magic eraser. Yeah, it's in the cleaning section.
Yeah, I actually have some. wouldn't it change the nature of the paper if you wanted to paint back on top of it, I wonder?
No, if you wet it first, it gently lifts the color. As long as you don't, push too hard, you rub a little bit.
But can you paint back on top of it then?
You probably could after it's dry. You have to be careful so you don't pull the fiber of the paper if you're using a very absorbent. I don't know how it would work on hot press. Be interesting.
Yeah. I think this one's just about done. It has to be, if I wanted to go in, bring out my little bag of tricks here. If I wanted to use some Posca pens, some acrylic pens, I might lighten some things up just a little bit, but it has to be bone dry. And that's not going to happen for at least a half hour.
I use it to add a silver. I use the silver Posca markers, and for just sort of very last highlights on things. And you're right, it adds an interesting effect. It's kind of like adding sparkle to something.
I'm just adding a few highlights, even though the paint isn't really dry.
So Margaret was offering to give a little bit of instructions here on magic, Mr. Clean Magic erasers.
I'd love to hear it.
They're also known as a melamine sponge. You can
Wait, I think I
the
can.
sponge, rub the dry paint area, and then use a dry cloth to pat dry. On cold press, the surface is easy to paint on again, no problem.
You mean these guys?
On cold press, those guys.
Huh.
But they're not sheets. They're little
They're little sponges.
little sponges.
All right.
Yeah. They work just fine on cold press. Not sure about hot press, so.
Well, that'd be kind of a fun experiment just to see what happens. Okay, I'm putting this, I think this is pretty much done. I'm gonna put it under the.
Yeah, it looks
Here.
great.
See, I'm looking at my screen. This looks so dark, but it really isn't that dark.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to mute for a second. I have to let the dog out.
I think I'm gonna stop on this one pretty soon too. I'll just keep noodling. I think this one's just kind of okay. It's pretty busy. I think the other one works a lot better. I think it's got too many moving parts.
Emily, what is the name of the yellow pen? The yellow, not a Posca marker. What's that one?
You mean one of these guys?
Yeah.
Well, there's two brands. There's Posca and Montana,
Okay.
and they come in different widths. This is a little skinnier. Roz, I think I'm gonna stop on this one because I'm not that crazy about it.
Okay.
But let me go get the other one. This one is a much simpler composition. I think it works a lot better.
Yeah, they're both nice. I see what you mean though. The color integration is really pretty on this one. So at this point, Emily, do you want us to unpin and put on gallery so people can chat?
Sure.
Are you about finished? In other words, are you finished?
Yes, I think I'm finished enough.
Perfect.
Happy to take questions.
Yeah, so that'll be great. So what we'll do is stop the, I'll switch us back to gallery view. And everybody can turn back on your video so we can see you.
Okay.
And if you have questions for Emily, you can ask her. Hey, there's everybody.
So,
Hi, everybody.
hi. So Emily, your upcoming class, is it going to be similar to what your demonstration was?
Yes. Watercolor and ink and some sticks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Hi, Matt.
Can you ever go back and add more ink lines to a painting after when you're noodling around?
If somebody's asking me something, I can't hear it. There's some clicking sounds.
Go ahead and ask her a little. Do you ever go back and add, what was it, ink? More ink?
Yes, I do. I do. Yeah. Sometimes I'll go back over the original ink drawing and add a few lines if I wanted to beef them up a little bit.
Hi, Emily.
Good to see you, Matt.
I'm in Michigan saying hello.
What's that?
Michigan. Wow.
I love
How's
you. That was really wonderful. So great. Thank you.
Thanks,
so
Matt.
I'm
Thanks.
so comforted. Thank you.
Oh, good.
How's the weather back there?
You know, it's just like Emily said, it only takes 35 minutes and 45 pieces of clothes to be warm here.
Where are you, Matt? Are you in Chicago?
Northern Michigan.
What
Oh,
are you doing up there? Well, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
The colors really look nice, Emily, on
Oh, thanks.
your other one now. You can see that they really are vibrant.
On this one here?
Yeah, both of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Both of
Yeah,
them.
I like that one. You
They're
know,
both very nice.
it's funny how that works because this, using sticks just loosens you up. And sometimes you can do paintings that are more successful.
So, I mean, do you just use any random stick and then throw it away, or do you have some that you use again and again?
Well, I just picked this one up today. Yeah, random. I went out to the garden and picked a bunch of sticks up off the ground this morning.
Ah, fun.
Does it help if the stick is somewhat hollow? As opposed to a piece of a branch of a tree?
That's such a good question. I think with this guy, it's more porous, so it will hold more ink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to dip it as much. And it has kind of a scratchy end. So, but I thought this one, it has a lot of flair. So
Yeah. Like a feather pen, right?
yeah, exactly. Drawing with panache.
So if the rest of you are hiding, you're welcome to unmute. And
Show
and you
your
can
faces.
also
Hi, Andrea. Hi, Amos.
put on your
Hi.
video if you want.
Yeah, I showed your session to my artistic daughter, who has an amazing eye and sense of balance, but zero formal training. Comes from a long line of architects and designers on her mom's side. And as soon as I saw this happen, and I left it, so she could watch what you were doing.
Your last couple words cut out. What was that?
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Amos, go ahead.
Amos.
I left it on so you could see what you can do.
Oh, cool.
Good.
Watching your technique and hearing your process. To me, that's the most important thing. Anybody can paint, but it's the feeling. Art is nothing more than an object of what you were feeling in the moment. So hearing your process through it is good.
Thanks. Thank you, Amos. Yeah, I'm a big believer in coming from somewhere deep inside here. I'm not interested in doing something that looks perfectly represented. I'd rather it be an expression of stuff that's inside me. And that can be both good and bad. But that's my belief system around creating art, is to reach deep inside yourself and create from there.
Well, it's been a lot of fun to watch. And if it which one of those would you want to put up for auction if you do? That one. Yeah, hold it up a little closer for us.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see it how you see it right side up.
Very
yeah,
nice.
Nice.
Yeah, let me add your spotlight there.
There's something playful about it.
There we go.
Hold it like this.
Yeah, I'm spotlighting you.
It's a little The light's a little better if I hold it at an angle.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can auction this if you like.
Well, we have one buyer who's interested in getting it.
Cool.
And so why don't we wait about 2 more minutes and give everyone else a chance to bid over 150? If not,
Woohoo!
um,
Do you want me to keep holding?